Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Standing Nowhere podcast. This is your host, Jacob. Today is a very special episode, number 12. Very special because it is the first time I have a guest on the show, and the guest is somebody very dear to my heart. It is none other than my mother, Diane Buehler. And she's going to share with you some stories and adventures of her life through her childhood and adult years. I won't give the show away, but there are some intense stories that I want to give you a heads up for. She shares how she survived abuse, raising 5 children all by herself, and how she found strength in her faith to get her through it all and keep her going to this day. It's a very powerful and honest conversation about life with all of the ups and downs. And also, at the end, I dedicated a special scripture reading just for her. So let's get into it. Here we are.
Hello.
This is exciting.
Hello.
All right, well, this is my 12th episode, and I'm excited to have one of the most important people in my life on the episode, my mother, Diane Buehler. Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
I thought we would just kick things off with your early years in life and where you were born, where you grew up, and what it was like with your parents and siblings. If you could kind of give us a little background on your childhood, you know.
Well, I was born in San Diego, and we ended up having, my mom and dad had 5 children. I was number 2.
Sorry to interrupt. You were born in San Diego?
Yeah, California.
Oh, I didn't know that.
What?
So
Whatever.
I'm cutting into I got my sense of humor from my mother. I thought you grew up in Indiana. Or have you not got to that part of the story
I
yet?
haven't gotten there yet.
Oh, okay. See, I'm jumping in. Okay.
Yeah.
Take it
Just
away.
don't interrupt me, okay?
I won't interrupt. Okay.
No, you can anytime. So I was born in San Diego. I think we moved to Nebraska for about 6 months when I was 5. And then we ended up going to Indiana. My dad bought 5 acres for $17,000. And that just ages me, I know. But it was a good deal then. And he worked at Notre Dame University.
What did he do there?
And he was like an assistant professor. And
what did he teach?
He worked with the computers, and the computers were the size of a whole 1 or 2 bedroom house. And back then, he took us on a tour, and also the advantages were that he dropped us off every weekend to ice skate, so that was fun.
So he would drop you off and then go teach, basically.
Well, I don't know what he was doing, but
okay.
And then the back of the 5 acres was like a field. And, of course, we had a couple of horses and pigs and stuff.
You had a horse, too, right? If I remember.
Well, technically my sister, but she didn't ride it. So I got to ride the horse all the time. And we were, like, in the horse shows. And
the 4-H fairs. You told me about those.
Yeah, 4-H fairs. And we had pigs. We entered them in the 4-H fair. And, of course, we came out. We named them Pork Chops and something else. And then we won 2nd place. And then my dad made us eat the pigs.
Oh.
And he said, that's just what you do.
So wait a minute. You raise these pigs. They win 2nd place at a fair. So you love them. You care for them.
Oh, yeah.
And then he made you eat them.
Yes. I remember being at the dinner table eating my pig. And hot dogs, pork chops, and everything
What was
else.
that like?
It was something he told us that we just do. We raised him, and we were in a competition at the 4-H fair and won the awards. We trained him with a cane by their neck, and the curvy part of a cane, you can train a pig to walk where you want it to.
Keep it in a straight line.
Yeah, and we would ride it, you know.
I still can't get over the fact that you ate your own pigs. Like, of course, he says that's just life, but like, what was in your mind? How old were you when you did this?
Maybe 12.
So you're 12 years old eating your own beloved pig.
Yes.
What was the feeling like? I mean,
It's like just we complained a little bit about it, but he just acted like it was normal. And we also had a steer. We had that steer. We butchered it and ate it, but we didn't eat the horses.
Right.
So
that's good. I remember you had a name for one of your horses.
April was my horse, and then it was technically my sister's to ride, then we had a pony named Princess and a colt, and I forget the name, a Star.
Star, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we didn't train Star, but
I remember you told me once that your horse was running really quick one day, and just out of the blue, it stopped dead.
She always did that.
Really?
She always did that, and I just got back on
But
and
you
kept riding.
You would fly off, basically.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
my gosh.
And I would get back on, and then I would walk her. So she didn't try it. She would try it again sometimes. And half of the 5 acres was the woods. So she would also take off with me. And I had no control. She just went straight back to the barn. I had to duck my head and get back in. So we were brought up kind of tough kids, like it wasn't really a farm. It was just a lot of animals and garden.
Did you ever
and
milk
stuff.
cows?
I did from a neighbor.
Okay.
We did milk a cow, but it wasn't on a regular basis.
Okay.
And so it was fun times, and I'd meet up with my friends and we'd ride together out in the woods
That's
somewhere.
amazing. What a different childhood than today. I mean, even from my childhood, that's...
I know I felt bad raising you in the city, and we started out in Spokane when I had my kids, but
California, even before.
Then we were in Indiana, and then when I was 14, my dad moved us to California, back to California,
Okay.
Thousand Oaks, California, and he bought a good house with a pool in a good neighborhood. We went to high school there, and that's when I started rebelling and everything. So
Started rebelling.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to talk about that because this is this is like your teenage years that you are transitioning into here, like high school when you're back in California. And when you say rebelling, what exactly did that look like?
You take life chances. I'm surprised I'm alive. And back then we'd hitchhike, pick up hitchhikers, go party with them, and all kinds of things you probably still don't know, Jake.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
I'm going to listen.
Yeah.
I'm going to reflect back on this someday.
And I guess my dad taught us a lot of independence. And so because of those 5 acres in Indiana, he taught us to be competitive with the 4-H fair. We had to keep records of all the animals and when we fed them and stuff.
Right.
And then we moved to California, and they were so busy that a lot of times I would just lie to my parents and go where I wanted.
And that's when he was teaching?
No, he got a new job in California where he worked with a bigger company.
He was into computers like when they first started. Like you said, they
Yes.
were like the size of rooms.
Yes.
And what did your mom do? Grandma?
She was stay at home.
Stay at home?
And she went to nursing school when we were in Indiana, but she really never worked until we got to California. And once she decided to divorce my dad, that's when she worked for maybe a couple months.
Oh, okay. So I remember you telling me that you moved out kind of young and it wasn't exactly the most pleasant experience when you moved out. I think you said you were 19?
17.
Oh, you were 17. Can you talk about what led up to that and what that was like when you first moved out? And that 17 is young to move out.
Well, because I was rebelling, I met a boyfriend when I was 15. He was like a fatal attraction. And so, but in the meantime, my parents are not getting along. And so she decides to leave him. My dad's devastated. I'm saying, well, at least there's no more fighting in the house. A lot of yelling.
So you were 17 when your parents decided to split, basically.
Yes. And then I moved out because my mom took off with a man she had met.
And you didn't like him?
I didn't even know him. He picked me up from school one day.
But she just decided to leave.
She just decided to leave my dad, and within a few months, she had a boyfriend she ended up marrying him and was married to him for 17 years. But
Grandpa Phil.
yes.
Okay.
And they ended up getting a divorce too. But when she left my dad, nobody was watching it. Everybody was busy.
He was busy at work. What was that?
They were too traumatized by the divorce that I just really got my freedom.
I was going to ask, what was that like? You're the second oldest of 5 siblings, 3 girls, 2 guys. I'm sorry, 3 sisters and 2 brothers. And 17 years old, what was going through the mind of all 5 of you when they split? I mean, that had to be earth-shaking news, right?
Well, she left us to go to Arizona with the guy.
How quickly are we talking?
Left all 5 kids in a 2-bedroom condo with my dad.
Really?
Because they had sold the house because of the divorce. And this all happened within a few months. And so I said, Dad, I'm going to go live with these 2 guys. I'm going to go live with someone else. There were 2 guys. Sandy took off, my oldest sister, and she took off and lived with some people. Then he had the 3 kids there.
The younger ones, Laura, and your brother Mike and Billy.
Yeah.
And my goodness, I'm just trying to like put myself in your shoes at this time. So the announcement comes, and how quickly is your mom?
She's gone.
Just overnight.
Yeah, I think he was living in a motel room. They sold the house. They broke up in my senior year of high school, and she was already in Arizona with the new guy by the time I graduated.
Wow.
So
that it was hard on you and Sandy, the older 2, but I'm sure the younger 3 were pretty devastated.
Yeah, there was just no more fighting though. So there was a good side to it.
Bittersweet.
Yes.
Okay.
And my dad was devastated, but my mom moved on and she met the new guy and he ended up being in our lives for 17 years. He was a very strong role model actually, but we stayed in California for a little while. And
you're talking about Grandpa Phil being
yeah.
the strong role model? Okay.
Yeah.
So you loved him as well, and I know you absolutely loved you loved both your parents, but I know you especially loved your dad. He was very close to you.
Yeah.
Very supportive of you. So, man, it's crazy that I'm learning all of this in detail now for the first time, isn't it? I wish I had been more curious before.
Because you really need to know about family history, really. It's really good to know about grandmas, grandpas, great-grandmas, grandpas, because the one half, my mom, was all Italian. And she had a coldness to her.
Your grandma?
My mom.
Your mom.
And my grandma was cold to my mom. My mom wasn't really one to sit down and teach us things or talk to us. And so when they say if you're emotionally unavailable for your kids, it has a devastating effect, but you don't know it until your kids are grown.
It's like a subconscious thing.
Well, you don't know how you're being. My mom only knew what she knew. She didn't know how to probably be warm and unconditional in her love. In fact, she said later on, there's no such thing as unconditional love, so.
I want to know, did you have any feelings of resentment towards her in all of this?
Oh, yeah.
Because it seems like you have a good relationship, though.
No, I was
young.
not close to my mom.
Really?
Yeah. She's thrown me out of the house more times than I count when I used to go visit her from far away. So it was only because I disagreed with her or something. And she said, I'm not going to put up with this. And she threw my clothes out and I'd call somebody to come get me.
Just
and there
like
was
that.
No yelling either. It was just, she was
straight to the
got mad
end,
at
like
something I said or disagreed with or something. I don't know.
Wow.
So nobody really believed me until they saw it for themselves. My siblings know.
Yeah.
But we don't, she's passed.
Yeah, I remember the final years with her were not easy. You were there for her quite a bit, but it was not an easy passing, right?
She had pancreatic cancer. And it was hard because her husband, her third husband, had dementia. And so here she's dying. She's walking around, though. She's just getting weaker, and he's finally not being able to find the bathroom. in the house.
Jeez.
So it was the three girls, me and my two sisters, and we were trying to hustle and take care of them and stuff. So.
Oh, okay. Well, let me ask you about the years where you transitioned out of the house, because I think that when I think of the memories that you've told me about, that to me strikes me as a really exciting time in your life. Like you were on your own. You said you moved out with two guys. You said, Dad, I'm just going to move out. And then Sandy moved out. So it was just your three youngest. But can you talk about how that transitioned into your college years, your initial aspirations to be, I think you were wanting to get into broadcasting or the news. And then you also mentioned you were an actress as well, or an actor in Lambs Players, traveling actors. So can you talk about kind of like, okay, you leave the house, and how does this transition into those kind of crazy years?
Well, those two guys were just friends. Actually, I didn't know them very well, but I slept on the couch, and it was just a roof over my head. Then my mom comes back into town. She had just turned a Christian.
Okay.
She asked me and my younger sister to go to Arizona with her. And I'm thinking, this lady's lost it.
So she comes back, says she's found God.
Yeah, she's yes. And she asked us to go back with her. So we went back with her. And I was living with my dad in a house at that time. He got more settled, and I paid him rent. I worked as a waitress. But she comes, I go back with her, and I'm working at like a...
Dairy Queen, was it?
That was when I was 15.
Oh, okay.
And the guy kept following me into the cooler room.
Before there was human resources.
Yeah, before there was any laws about sexual...
You told me about that. He cornered you in the freezer.
Yes. And then so there's more stories. But so
you moved out, you came back after your mom came back and lived with her.
And I was in Arizona living with her.
Is this when you found your faith?
And so I was there for a little bit, but she had two missionaries spend the night, and we went to church with them. They were really nice, but I was in her guest bedroom by myself, and I asked for the true God to come into my life because I was studying Zen Buddhism.
Really?
And I was training 4 hours a day for karate, Shotokan, and sleeping with my karate instructor, who I was 18 and he was 36.
We need to make a biopic for you.
Oh my gosh. And so that's before she asked me to come out to Arizona. So I told him, hey, I'm leaving. And I was just a kid. I was 18.
Right.
But
You had your green belt, I think, is what you...
Almost, because it took me a year to get to the green belt stage, but I moved.
So you left, you came back home, and then your mom says, come to church with me.
No. Well, yeah, but she kept talking about God on the way to Arizona, and I finally talked to him. I talked to God in her spare bedroom because I was like learning about Zen Buddhism from my karate teacher and stuff like that. But I asked for the true God to come into my life. And
you told me this story, but I want to hear you say it again, just so I remember all the details.
Well,
you were by yourself in the room.
Yes.
And I don't know if it was a dream or a vision.
No, I was wide awake.
Okay, and what happened?
But I was laying down, and I reached my hands into the air while I was laying down. I said, "With true God, please come into my life." And so then I closed my arms to my chest, and I felt this. And this sounds really weird, but I felt this sweeping from my feet all the way up through my eyes, and it was almost like demonic stuff. And that's freaky to tell people.
No, I've heard it described that way.
I'm not a charismatic person.
Yeah.
I don't get into
you don't go
all
after
that,
signs.
Healing, and even though it could be, but
yeah.
And so I go, you know what? I'm just going to trust that this was God.
Right.
And so I didn't tell anybody for a couple of weeks. But then I gave my testimony 2 weeks later at our church, and then that's when I told everybody.
Was that a big paradigm shift for you after this experience? Like, what was your daily...
No, because I didn't know how to be a Christian, and I didn't know how to be like those people in church. I was a jeans girl. I was rough around the edges. And I'd go to church, I'd see these girls dressed up, and I'm going, God, I can't be like them. I'm not... I don't know how to be girly girl. And so I just went in my jeans and stuff, and I met some Christians and stuff. But
Sounds like you're saying, I don't know how to be phony. Like you wanted to be yourself.
well, I'm sure in their own way they're real and they're sincere.
Yeah. I'm not calling them phony,
yeah.
but you know how it is. Sometimes there's that image that we try to uphold at church, that I'm a good Christian.
Yeah. But I never, till this day, back down on my faith and that Jesus Christ is the Son of God. Never will I do that, because it's been too many miracles happening in my life. Although I lived most of my life as what they call as a lukewarm Christian, and
Backsliding.
well, I don't know if I was ever really fully. So I told God, I just don't know how to be like them. So when I I went back to California and lived in San Diego at 20 and went to college, and I was a waitress at Lawrence Welk's restaurant. And so I met this girl. Anyway, I auditioned for this theater group that was a traveling theater.
Right.
And they had a bus and a 2-ton truck. And I auditioned and I got in and I raised support because it was Christian. It was evangelistic.
So they're a Christian like theater group, and you just heard about them, and you raised some money to join them?
Yep.
Just on a whim, you decided.
Yep. Wow. And the guy that got together Lambs Players, he was an actor in Hollywood for a long time. He was always on Bonanza. A lot.
Is this the guy you named me after? This is kind of a secret
No, this
between me and
was
you?
the head guy on our tour, Jake. Jake Taylor or something like that. But so I auditioned, I got in, I raised the money. I lived off of 300. I was supposed to raise 600. I lived off of 300. We got an apartment and stuff, and we went on tour in this old bus, 19-seater bus. I was the first female in that group that was a driver for the bus and the 2-ton truck.
So you weren't the only woman there, just the only driver.
Right. Oh. The only female
and
driver.
You drove the whole bus.
Well, yeah, I was the only female driver. Yeah. And so then we drove through the Rockies. We went to Oregon. We went to Washington. We went to California. We performed in all the jails. And
in jails.
Oh, yeah. And Atascadero for the criminally insane. And for San Quentin, they said, hey, you guys go in, there's no guarantee you're coming out. And you cannot, if they hold you hostage, there's nothing we're going to do.
That make you nervous?
No.
You were like, bring it on.
I was fearless.
Yeah, you were.
And so, and then back in San Quentin, when we were there, in the back of the building, there was a cement tub, like probably 15 by 15 with water in it. And they were baptizing guys. Wow. And they were singing, standing around singing, I once was a murderer, but Jesus set me free. I once was
That's
whatever.
Amazing.
Yeah. And it was very touching. And then we'd go off to the next place.
Yeah.
So
that's incredible. I mean, you were out there and you were not only entertaining people, but spreading love, spreading the gospel. You can tell the little short story of the people who, because the character you played, I believe, was a man, right?
I played 2 characters, but yes, I was Dead Fred, and I was Fred, and I looked like a guy because I had a hood. This is Renaissance costumes, by the way.
They put a beard on you,
well,
mustache.
with makeup only.
With makeup. And
so they all thought I was a guy, because how you doing? And so then I would shake their hand, and then one guy went, ooh, you're not a guy. And so
you just felt your hand, like it was like all of a sudden, wow, this is a little too feminine.
Yep.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So how long did you continue with Lambs Players, and how does that eventually bring you to Whitworth and meeting Dad and all of that?
Well, when I got out of Lambs Players, I thought, what am I going to do with my life? I'm 21 years old.
Okay.
Almost 22. And so I applied to Whitworth University up in Spokane, Washington, because my fellow Lammies, they told me about, they went there and they said, Whitworth's really good. And it's a really nice town and pine trees and everything.
It was beautiful.
So I applied, but while I was waiting, I lived with my dad who was back in Thousand Oaks, and I worked at the hospital as a housekeeper. And I cleaned rooms, saved all my money. He drove me up to the college. I lived in a dorm, and the theme was simple living dorm. Mm-hmm. And I got my own room, actually, because I was almost 23 by that time. Mm. And so I went to school for 2 of those years in a dorm, mm-hmm. and then I met your dad. And
how did that happen?
I went to the last year, we lived outside the dorm. How'd that happen?
Yeah, well, every child's curious, like, how did my parents meet?
On the campus.
The first time you saw them.
They talked about them, and they said, hey, here's, so-and-so. And we smoked a joint together, partied together. And that's where I've made most of my mistakes.
You heard it, folks. She admitted it right here.
Is partying together.
Yeah.
And then we're laughing and, we think we're in love, because all you have to do is be intoxicated and you have already fallen in love with that person.
Right.
And then when you sober up, you're thinking, what was I thinking,
You were young. You were both young.
But I went ahead because we would smoke pot together or drink. He wasn't really involved in going to school. He was kind of like dropping out, but living in the dorm.
Mm. And his heart wasn't in it.
Yeah. And by then I was majoring in broadcast journalism, and I was like really gung ho.
Committed.
I was going to go to Seattle and do an internship there. I did a TV station in Spokane, and this is right when I'm meeting him. But none of those dreams came true after that.
I ruined it for you. No,
you didn't. You were the product of
right.
Bad choice I made.
But. Well, you guys fell in love, quote unquote, and the face you're making right now, I love it. You got a lot of good years together, but I wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit. You were about 26 when you had me. So how did the question get popped? Will you marry me? And how did you guys transition into marriage? And then what was it like, transitioning into the married life? Because you were talking about you had these dreams. I'm guessing that has something to do with it. So,
well, I was 25 when we got married, and I was graduating.
Okay.
But
so you got your bachelor's,
I got my bachelor's degree in broadcast journalism, and then we said, well, let's go live on the island because he's from the San Juan Islands over there by Seattle.
Orcas Island.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I said, but I don't know if. I don't really want to. And he said, well, as far as your career goes, I don't think that's going to work, being married. And that was the first of my downfall with everything. And
he said to you, I don't think this is going to work if you pursue that career.
Yeah. No, he said, I don't think, it's going to be hard to have a marriage where you have that kind of a career.
Okay.
So we went over to the island for 3 months.
And you left college at that point?
I was graduated, yes.
So you graduated, yes. But you didn't pursue any
no.
broadcasting. Instead, you wanted to focus on getting married, starting a family.
I did. Yeah, and then we moved down to California again, Huntington Beach. And
this is probably where I jump into the
story? Pregnant
story?
with you.
Okay.
And then it was basically a domestic violence marriage from even up in college when I married him before I ever had you. Mm-hmm. And we were arguing from the get-go, and one time he drove crazy. I ran out of the car, and he chased after me and held me by the waist, carried me like a log, and plopped me down on the grass, and a man saw, and he pulled over and came up to me and said, ma'am, do you want me to call the police? And I said, no, he's my husband. And so there was the beginning of 13 years, 11 years.
That was the first time that he had ever been really physical with you?
Yes, he had quite a temper before I ever married him. So what's that tell you? Hey, we get along, we party, we laugh, we have fun together.
Right.
And then you ignore everything else and you marry him
Yeah.
And
Because
it,
you genuinely loved him. However, he had a lot of things that he was carrying from his childhood, obviously,
Yeah.
with the anger.
yes.
So that happened before you got married, before you got pregnant with me. What was life? What was life like after I came into the picture and you became a mom and you guys became parents?
I couldn't, I was extremely sheltered. Extremely. I went from this girl that had all these adventures to being home with my kids. Not that that's a bad thing.
It takes a lot out of you.
But he was working and he had a traveling job. So it was my job to look up where he had to go on the map. And if I didn't, and he would wait till the last minute to get ready, and all hell broke loose during that time. Every time he'd leave for out of town or to do anywhere in LA. So
He would get stressed out before he had to go.
oh yeah. And then one time
okay.
I could tell you
'Cause
stories.
we're not demonizing him and we're not vilifying him, because obviously a lot of time has passed since then. But this is something that you went through, and there's a lot of potential listeners that may be going through this right now. So
yeah.
I think it's
Well,
if
I
you're
think the
comfortable with sharing
biggest
it.
reveal that I had one time, I said he wouldn't let me go anywhere, grocery shopping or anything, because if the kids were home, well, this was just you two home. You were
Me and Jess.
like 1.5, and she was,
About
a year
6
younger
months,
than
yeah.
So, anyway, so I went to the grocery store and he was timing me. And so when,
Timing you.
yeah, he watched how long I was gone for,
Why?
because he didn't want me gone. And I wanted to go by myself because I was with the kids all day, every day.
Yeah, you wanted to get out.
Yeah, and this was rare that I could go out and do some shopping. But I forgot something. And we had it where the stairs, the garage was there. Then you go up the stairs, and there's the apartment on top of the garage.
Right.
Well, he didn't know I came back into the door, and I heard him talking to somebody, but he wasn't talking to anybody except for himself. And he was saying, she's such a slob. Your mom's such a slob. Look at her. She's so lazy. And I stood there. I was in shock that he talked about me, and he thought I had left.
Who was this to?
To himself.
It wasn't to me as a baby or something?
Well, maybe you were in the room, but nobody else was there.
Did you say hello, like I'm here behind you, or did you just let him?
I think I did. I don't know if I said I heard. I can't remember. Either that or I walked out. I was devastated. And so I went shopping and got home, and there it was. And I'm not going to cause a big fight over it, but I learned after years, you don't yell back. You don't fight them on it, because I was very afraid of my life for many years,
So it could escalate very quickly
From
if you fought back.
And he was unpredictable. So he was very calm when you look at him, but within a second he'd be hovering over me with his fists. I'm gonna you effing. Yeah, he
said that.
Yes. It was a very scary time for me for 11 years. And a counselor 5 years into it, we tried to get counseling, but he...
So this is 4 children later too, for those listening. It's
yes.
You had 4 kids.
Yeah.
And then how was this was this after Jeremy was born, the youngest of the 4 at the time?
Well, the 5 years into it...
Oh, so it would have been just me and Jess.
But
Yeah.
I talked to the doctor about you. I went to the pediatrician. I said, my son is very depressed. He's very depressed and I don't know what to do. And the doctor said, well, you do this. And he walked across the room and he said, you just walk. And I said, Oh, okay. But when you're sheltered and nobody knows the dynamics in your family, it's very hard because you're like, if you picture someone in a cell and then they let the prisoner out and then they have to be in society. So I felt like I didn't know what to do in society.
So
anymore.
the doctor's just telling you, just walk, just walk away. But in your mind, you're like, well, how do I do that?
Yeah. So I stayed a few more years, and then we went to a marriage counselor, and then that's when your dad walked out of the room because he didn't want to discuss anything. He got mad. Well, that counselor, I never forgot, said, you have to choose the best of the two evils. Either you stay or you go through the hardship of leaving, but both are hard. What do you choose? And I stayed for 5 more years. This was 11 years into it. And then I told him I was leaving him.
Wow.
And so
I was going to ask in regards to this whole situation, because I in my mind, it can't be easy. You have a marriage, you have kids together, you have this daily routine, you have love, genuine love for this person, but there's also the violent aspect as well, the physical aspect.
So yeah, and it's hard on the kids.
Yeah.
And so you were in a depression, and when I left him, you were 10, and guess what? You got happy.
I remember that.
And when you decide to leave your abusive spouse, it is the hardest thing in the world because you don't know where to go or what to do. But all of a sudden, the kids feel relief because there's no violence in the home.
I remember it. It was very intense. There was one time, which made me get choked up just now, where I saw something, and it was really hard. And I mentioned it on another episode. I didn't go into any details, though, out of respect for all parties, but I remember those years and how scary they were. And in regards to knowing the exact moment that it was time to leave, didn't you consult also the pastor of our church or something like that?
That was for the divorce. But when I actually wanted to leave, I was in California, and I had a 5-month-old baby.
Jeremy.
And that was my 4th child. And what made me decide was, okay, usually a mother will leave when they feel that their kids are in danger. That's not always true. But you two, I stayed for 10 years. And then I had 2 more. And they were 2 and 5 months. Well, one day I was on the phone with the insurance company. And I was talking, and he was in the background saying, they'd sell you a dead body if they could. And it was so embarrassing. So I said, well, thank you, ma'am. I hung up, and I knew not to yell at him because I put myself in danger. But he took a broomstick and threw it across the corner of the wall, and splinters started going everywhere. And my 2-year-old was standing there.
This was California.
Yeah, and I had to back him up.
Josh was
2.
2, and then Jeremy was, okay, yeah, I remember that. I remember those years, yeah.
So then I had to back him up. And so he went in the other room. I gathered my 2 little ones who were not in school. And I said, I'm going to go pick up the other 2 from school now. He said, okay. And I got in the car, and I picked you up from school. And all 4 of you were in the car, and I drove to my sister's. And I called him, and I said, I'm leaving you. Because I was tired of it. I was tired of the danger my kids were in. I was tired of thinking I was going to lose my life all the time. And the cops coming and not believing me because he was very calm when they got there. And a lot of it was emotional abuse, too. And, of course, police don't really take that serious.
Especially back then.
But that'll do a job on you, that emotional abuse.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that'll just wipe out every kind of confidence you have or self-esteem that you have. But that's how I left him.
Well, I appreciate you sharing all that because I know that's not easy. And in that same vein, that moment you decided to leave, which it sounds like it was building and then it was spontaneous with that outburst. You something just popped in your head and you're like, I'm out. For people, for someone listening though, who loves their partner but feels torn and unsafe like you were, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to start researching and avenues, options that you would have. Because after that, I went to the social welfare office and I said, I want to leave my husband. We own a house in Spokane. What do I do? They said, go to Spokane because they have good benefits there and then you can get on your feet. But some people have to leave immediately. Now, the trick is not going back. And I never went back, but some people leave, then go back, leave, and that'll mess with your head too.
Right.
So it's very important that you find help. There's shelters out there because I had a shelter lined up and everything, and Jessica remembers me blocking the front door with furniture that night. But anyway, I also, for the divorce, I applied to Gonzaga University and told them my story because in the law school there, they'll do your divorce for free.
Wow.
If your case is severe enough. So I interviewed with them. I wrote down everything that's happened, and they accepted my case, and they represented me in court free.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
It was, and then after that, I cried for 2 years. I was on welfare. I had a bachelor's degree. Couldn't find it. I tried to work, but the childcare was a lot. And I just stayed on welfare for the first 2 years. Stayed on for another 2 years because I applied for my master's degree and my teaching certificate. And the president of that program at Whitworth said, Miss Buehler, nobody has done this program as a single mom with 4 kids. Nobody. And I said, watch me. And I did it. And
you did.
I graduated. He was so proud of me. And I graduated, got my first job in Las Vegas.
I remember that.
But I stayed in that house that we owned, and he signed it over to me because he got a settlement for his knee injury or something.
Yeah.
And it was about the same equity in the house. So he gave me the house. I said, you pay the bills, I'll pay the house, And so he didn't pay the bills, but I ended up going through that program and graduating with 4 kids. And my dad helped me get down to Las Vegas and get my first job as a middle school teacher. And it was so great. Well, in the meantime, I'm going to make this short, but your dad did not contact you much through those years.
I remember.
And finally, here we are older. We're both in our 60s. And he has had an epiphany and got his life settled. And now he contacts you regularly. So I don't want... I did get away. I got away safely. My kids were safe. I didn't want them to see me on welfare, so I borrowed the money to go to college. The government did not pay for it, and I wanted you to see what a work ethic was like. And so, but I shopped at garage sales and Goodwill and everything. You got all your winter clothes from.
So after with the aftermath of all of that, and this is a tough question for me to ask you, or anyone listening who is going through something like this, but do you have compassion for Dad? And have you forgiven?
Yes.
You forgive him?
Oh, absolutely. I wouldn't marry him again. But
no, of course.
but
as a human being.
It's, I don't know if he has little tidbits of anger still, but he learned a big lesson in his own life from his temper, which is not my duty to say anything about. But all I know is that we got out safely. We got out alive. And your dad, through the years, came to a enlightenment or something. And he is sincere now, and he contacts all of you kids, and he helps you financially. I mean, 5. I have 5 now because the other half of the story was Las Vegas and on.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that as well. I mean, that was a whole new life for you when we came to Vegas. Yeah. You were a single mother raising 4 kids at the time we came down. I think you had just turned 39 or 40, and I wanted to ask. When after you got the master's degree alone and doing all of that, and you came to Vegas, you were under a lot of. I mean, you had done a lot raising 4 kids, getting that master's degree, moving us down, getting the job. What was life like in Vegas? Because I remember you worked hard, but you also celebrated in a way. You played hard,
yeah,
right?
that's a whole nother section of my life. But for 4.5 years, I was going through that divorce, crying, and then going through a year and a half of college, 2 summers, 1 school year, and another semester of getting that master's degree.
I remember that. You'd bring me to the library when you were doing your thesis, and I would play and try to keep quiet.
And I was working like 70 hours a week. And did I start neglecting? Probably, because I had papers to write, I had research, and it was either sink or swim.
Yeah, none of us ever held that against you. You were a single mom with 4 kids, and you were busting your ass.
But just so you know that when I had food stamps, I was damned in society, in public, that I wasn't supporting you well enough. Then when I got busy in Las Vegas working and everything, I was damned for working too much and neglecting you. So there really is no win-win for a single mom. But
especially with 4 kids.
Yes.
And then if you want to talk about maybe briefly how you met, I'm not going to say a name, of course, to protect his privacy, but you met another man for a short time.
Yes, and he was, it was after not dating for 4.5 years, and I just started teaching. 2 months into it, actually, I knew him for 3 months. We got married, to make a long story short.
I remember that, yeah.
He said he couldn't have kids, and that's how I had my 5th.
Yeah.
Because I believed him. And I had a 5th child, but we were already divorced we were married for like 5 months. Anyway, so I had the job. I worked, and then finally I got a job. So he was taken care of. I got a job as an adjunct at night, as teaching English 101 and 102.
I remember that. You worked 2 jobs.
Yeah. So here you're getting neglected even more and more. And I'm trying to support you. Because I still didn't get child support, and I didn't have any family in Las Vegas. So had you 24 hours a day, which is fine. But the 2 jobs, and then I would direct plays after school for middle school.
I remember that.
Yes,
yeah. I used to go to your plays, and you were great.
And so there it was, is that I ended up, the only regret I have is neglecting my kids because of the busyness.
And I think that's parenting brain. We're always holding ourselves to a high standard because we love our kids, and we want to make sure we're the best possible parent for it, at least the ones who care, and you cared. But even in spite of your circumstances of having, at that time now, 5 kids, working 2 jobs, trying to survive, you're still going to be hard on yourself. But Vegas, it had its own set of problems, its own set of new things to go through. Vegas is a pretty intense city, and I wanted to talk to you about.
That could be another podcast.
No, we're looking pretty good on time. If you're comfortable with it, I mean, because it was a big thing when it happened. I was 19, I think. For those listening, my younger brother, I remember I was 7 years old when he was born, so we have a 7-year gap. And I don't remember how old he was when it started, but if you, he struggles with addiction. I'll just say it. And it's not been easy for me, and I can only imagine as a parent. And I was wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing, like, all the adventures your life has already been. What was it like the day that you found out that your son was an addict to hard drugs? Well,
he started as I okay, these are the after effects. This is, you're going to say, oh, don't blame yourself. But these are the after effects of being too busy and not nurturing your kids. If you sit and talk with your kids and you listen to what they have to say, do you know how many students of mine in middle school didn't know how to have an opinion because their parents never asked them what they thought?
Really?
And I had to teach them how in journaling. But this is what happens when your kids are small, and I was under severe pressure with a bad marriage, and then going to Spokane, going through my master's degree and everything. And I really feel that the two smallest kids got the brunt of that because they were raised by me. And
busy you.
Yes. And then my fifth child was raised solely by me in Las Vegas.
With most of us kind of grown up and moved out.
You two when they say that most of you, you're by 6 years old, your personality's already formed. Well, my first two oldest, which is you, and the second born, lived in that violence, but yeah, you still had a mom and dad.
Right.
But it's still not good to have them around fearing for their life either. Yeah. So the next two got the brunt of it and started when he was 15. He was pretty good, but he's always taken chances in life. Yeah. And when he was 15, I asked him to take out the trash or something. He was addicted to his computer, and this is in Las Vegas. And I cut the Ethernet cord.
You just pull? Oh, you cut it with scissors?
I cut it.
Oh.
He never forgot it till this day. But he doesn't resent me for it because he's the one kid that you and actually have never disrespected me ever. And so I cut it, ran away for 2 weeks.
Because of that?
Yes.
So you cut the cord.
That's when the drug started.
Yes. After that.
Yes.
So he runs away, and what happens? When does he come back?
2 weeks later.
So he comes back 2 weeks later, and how did you know he was addicted to something at that point, or using?
By the looks of him, and by the looks of him, and then he only stayed maybe for a couple hours and left again.
And it started.
He was
there.
in the streets for a good 10 years after that. Yeah, it was very devastating, and he started with meth at the skate park, and then he went to heroin, and then he eventually went to fentanyl.
Which is where he's at now, I believe.
He's off fentanyl now.
Okay.
He's been in and out. He's still not a felon, surprisingly.
Wow.
And probation, drug courts. What, three drug courts at a year each? And he's just something inside. The dark side of him won't let him see the intelligent side of him because he's so extremely
sweet.
Intelligent.
Out of all five siblings, I don't know if you'd agree, he is the most sweetest and tenderest.
Yes,
he's so sweet, and he's always everyone loves to be around him.
Yes. Oh. And my fourthborn, my fourthborn is struggling with some resentment towards the upbringing. And, I think everybody goes through that in their 20s and 30s. Like, look how you raised me.
Yeah.
Why'd you do this? And that's where it comes back to bite you. But eventually they settle in and say, well, that's my mom and dad.
Yeah.
And hopefully they forgive because I can't take anything back. All we have is this moment.
Exactly. So. For parents out there who are listening, kind of a similar question to the last scenario, but if someone is listening and they're a parent and they have a child who's struggling with addiction, do you have any words of wisdom for them on getting through it?
I always tried to help them and talk to them and everything. And then I went through a mourning period, like a death. It is like a death in a way, because he rarely contacts me now, and he loves me. He doesn't hold any resentment towards me. That's what's so weird. But he doesn't get a hold of me. But he knows that I'll always be there. Will I be there financially? No.
Right.
Will I let them live in my house? No.
Just for safety.
But for parents, there is a mourning that you have to go through, and you have to mourn your child and stay on your knees, and you have to beg God to help them. Now, have I done that? Yes. I don't know if God will answer my prayer anytime soon, but he's still on drugs, and I used to keep his picture inside my Bible, and then he got clean for a while. I thought, oh, you answered my prayer, God, thank you. And then he'd go back, and I'm thinking, what kind of a mind mess is this, But
I think I speak for both of us too when I say he is genuinely an amazing person, but these addictive substances, they take you, and they do not let you go.
Yeah.
And
they're merciless.
They'll
take your soul almost.
It's heart-wrenching.
And he still believes in God. And it was very important to me that all 5 of my children still believe it, that were raised believing in God, because God is with you. When you believe in God, he is with you.
Always with you.
And so many things can happen if you ask God. And all 5 of my kids believe in God. And that's when they were in the crib, I used to put my hand over them or just stand at the crib and pray, dear God, please watch them throughout their lives. Please. Each child while they were sleeping. And even as they were getting older, I'd sit by their bed, they're sleeping, and I'd say, put my hand on their head, on their hair, and say, God, please be with my child. Please be with this one. Please be with that one.
Absolutely. It's a powerful thing, and it had a major impact on my life, your faith, Dad's faith. Even at his worst moments, he always had faith. And I think, like you mentioned earlier with Dad, him having that enlightenment coming out of it, I think his faith was the major part of that.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you taught it to me. I always had it when I was younger. And, not to digress on me, the last 3 years have been extremely rough for me. And like you said, I was kind of like I can relate to you. I was like a lukewarm Christian, essentially, at my lowest 3 years ago, when I was thinking it might be better not to exist than to exist, and I found it again because I hit that low point, but it's always been there with me. And I have you to thank and Dad for that. So thank you.
Yeah. Sure. I love you, Jake.
I love you too. I'm so glad that we're able to do this, and you're my first my first guest. And I was going to ask you, like, what helped you carry you through, but I think you answered it with just getting on your knees and praying and being,
because you're powerless.
You can't do anything about it.
You can't change people. You can't change your husband either. You can't change your wife. What you see is what you get. You can't say, well, we're going to work on this. It's a farce.
Yeah.
I
try to talk about that on this podcast. For some people that listen, they may not be specifically Christian, as you know, but trusting what this is, this process of unfolding. Like, we came out of it. You have to you have no choice but to trust it. Like you said, you're powerless. We can only take action, but we don't have the right to the fruits of those actions.
Right.
I wanted to ask you about, because you remember she went through a lot of waves in life, and I hope to have her on the podcast because she has an amazing story, very similar to yours. But the fact that you went through a lot of the physical, the physicality of your marriage.
Her marriage?
Can you talk a little bit about what it was like the day you heard that she was also in an abusive relationship?
Well, she had the same brainwashing. He was extremely controlling, and there's no. Every woman has to come. You can't shake your head to domestic violence victims, women. You can't say, I don't know why they don't leave. It's a brainwashing that controls you. And both of them were in it. Somehow snapped out, and she got out of it. She stayed out of it. She didn't go back and forth.
It wasn't easy. I remember that.
No, it wasn't easy.
She was head over heels for this guy.
Yeah, but and I was hesitant before she even married him. And so...
How did that make you feel as a
I
parent?
just was helpless. But you have to remember that you can warn them. And she saw my own life. But because they were witness to my own life, not my fifth, she wasn't a witness to my first 11 years.
You're fine.
Okay, but but saw it, she repeated it, and then she had her little struggles, and now she's remarried to a wonderful man who has not one mean bone in his body. He's not physical.
He's amazing.
He doesn't put her down. And you know why? Because she waited and she prayed and she loved God throughout. She had a sinful time. She had sin coming after she broke up with him. She had sin happening in her own life, but God He is the protector of us. And even though it's the worst thing in the world, He will come in and swoop down. You don't see it happening because it happens event by event by event. And pretty soon you look behind you and look at what He did. But some things look hopeless, but it's not hopeless. You must beg God to hear your prayer, and He does hear it.
That humility.
Yes. It's just we're all fallen creatures, and it's sad to see so much. I worked so hard to raise my 5 kids, and when I lay my head down on the pillow, I think how sin has continued throughout the generations and my own children. I worked so hard to raise, but no, I got busy. I had to support you. Oh, but look what happened because of that, because I neglected you emotionally or physically, not there. I don't know what it was, but there's nothing I can do.
Do you feel that those thoughts pull you back a lot? And then you remind yourself, I just need to look at my feet, like
Yes.
Solomon says in Proverbs.
Yeah. I listen to your podcast.
Does it help?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I learned from the best.
I went to trauma therapy for about 9 months a few years ago, and that really helped about grounding and being mindful, like you talk about in your podcast. So,
yeah, and I think psychiatry, they have their own labels for it, of course. It's kind of stripped away of the spiritual stuff, right? But they call it grounding and things like that, which I think is great.
And you can get so busy in your life.
Yeah.
You're not mindful.
You're gone.
You're not. So that's why mindfulness and being grounded is so important in our daily lives. We can just go through our habits and not even think. And 10 years later,
I'm back.
I gained 20 pounds. I smoke. Never thought a day about it. And it's just being mindful of the moment and being grounded is one of the most important skills you can ever learn.
Amen.
That's all I have to say.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I know we're moving towards the finish line, and you're giving me the signal here. And I want to be respectful of your time, and I'm so grateful. We're gonna do this again because we have so many more stories we can tell.
Yeah.
But I was wondering, as we close out, if you could maybe just touch on, just some reflections in life. Aging, slowing down a little bit. You just lost your brother recently, which is part of time. Time goes by and everything passes away. What is loss and mortality taught you about your life?
I think first of all, it's taught me that I can't go back and change anything. And that's why it's so important to be present at the moment in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s. It's very important to be present with your kids, with what's going on, because someday you'll be where I'm at. And you'll think, why did I do it like that? And so now I know that God is real and that I've ignored Him a big portion of my life with my decisions. I've put Him to the side and just saying, this is what I want. And I've paid a price for many, many things. And I think in my next generation with my kids, they're paying a price now. And I think that's just doing the right thing. Do the right thing. That's what I've learned. I just learned it like 2 days ago.
Better late than never, right?
I know. And I'm thinking, why didn't I think of it like that? Do the right thing. That's all. But then we get busy again. And I've yet to write my book, Confessions of a Lukewarm Christian.
Ooh.
And you can watch out for that.
I am excited. We can promote it on the podcast.
Oh, sounds good.
Yeah, maybe read a few chapters or something.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, this has been a lot of fun, Mom, and I'm really grateful for you that you're my mother. You taught me so many things in life.
Thank you.
I think above all, you taught me to love. You taught me to have faith and trust, and you taught me to have a sense of humor too. You're always so funny.
Well, you're pretty funny.
I try. I got big shoes to fill. All my friends have always loved you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And if you, I guess as we close out here, if you could speak to your younger self or to someone listening who feels they're in the middle of it all, what would you want them to know as we close out here?
Snap out of it. If I was my younger self, I was so rebellious, but so adventurous, and all that adventure was good, but be careful who you meet, who you trust right off. When you have sex, all of a sudden you're in love. All those endorphins, and now you're in too deep. Oh my gosh, and now you've got emotions involved and everything else. So it's best to just get to know people and trust them, but those quick decisions just don't cut it.
And like you said, being mindful helps with that, because you'll be more mindful of the choices you're making.
Take time for yourself, quiet time, and take care of yourself. And then you can be more perceptive in life with other people and what's happening around you.
That's great advice. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. I'm really glad we were able to do this, and I'd love to do it again sometime in the near future. So,
you're welcome, Jake. Do you want my autograph now?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
I love you.
I love you too. Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, all right, everyone. That concludes our episode for the day. I want to say a big thank you to my mom. I'm going to have a reading for her in just a moment, but I also want to say thank you to all the listeners for being here. Thanks to my mom, Diane, for being my first podcast guest ever. And I want to thank her as well for demonstrating that in spite of all the flames that she walked through in life, that she still was able to maintain a spirit of forgiveness and compassion. And that's pretty incredible. If this episode moved anyone, one of the best ways you can support the show is to follow in your favorite app, or even better, share the episode with somebody who you think might need to hear this. We have links in the description if you'd like to share your story with us or support us financially as well. And this final reading here, I picked out especially for you, Mom. It's from Isaiah. Do not fear, for I have redeemed you. I have called you by name. You are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overwhelm you. When you walk through fire, you shall not be burned, and the flame shall not consume you.
This voice might fade like dust on the dial, but I'm standing nowhere, and I've been for a while. No heroes, no headlines, no promises made, just a whisper that won't be afraid. Standing nowhere, and it feels like home. No flag just a wave, no need to roam. The silence speaks louder than war ever could, and I've never felt so understood. The static is kind, it leaves me alone. No orders to follow, no king on the throne. The sky's turning amber, the clock's all reset, and I haven't stopped walking just yet. Standing nowhere, wide and free. No chains, no name, no destiny. The road dissolves, the sky turns white. I'm still here, nothing